Meanwhile, the Obama administration is still trying to figure out a legal response to the growing state-by-state effort to legalize marijuana. Now, Kennedy has added the weight of the family name to the fight against the drug. Former Rhode Island Congressman Patrick Kennedy, son of the late Senator Ted Kennedy, leading a group called Project SAM, or Smart Approaches to Marijuana. But Kennedy, who has a history of substance abuse himself, is already drawing a fair amount of criticism for his cause. He joins me live here on the set in Washington, D.C. Let's start there with some of the criticism. It could not have come as a surprise to you.
No, but a good cause like this needs to galvanize attention, because it's already in 18 states. It's going even further, and before we know it, we're going to wake up one day and we're going to have another tobacco industry. It's going to be called the marijuana industry. We already know what big tobacco did to our kids. Joe Camel targeting kids. We know what the alcohol and liquor industry has done. They target children. They also market to people who are alcoholics, frankly, and they flood the market and make it accessible. I don't think we need a new legalized drug in our country. Michael Bloomberg's taking OxyContin off the shelves in New York City. We have enormous epidemic of addiction and abuse, and then the thought that we would introduce a new legalized drug, to me, just doesn't make any sense.
How does your personal experience with substance abuse? I mean, you mentioned OxyContin. Of course, you sought treatment for it. It's widely known. How does all of that play into what you're doing now?
So I've spent a lot of time researching addiction and the neuroscience behind it. 9 out of 10 addicts start when they're kids, as I did. That changes your brain chemistry, because as your brain's developing, it isn't fully developed until your 20s. So this notion that we're going to give the green light of permissibility for people to think, oh, it's harmless, go ahead and experiment. Now, we know kids have access to this anyway, but we shouldn't be adding fuel to the fire. And my whole point is, let's get the public health officials in here and offer other recommendations besides, you know, incarceration, because I'm also against incarceration.
Sure.
So let's
for low-level dealers. I mean,
yes. So we would have, you know, expungement if you go to drug court, mental health court. We want to have treatment. But people say, who are proposing this, that it's going to create a new revenue stream. But we know what the revenue stream in alcohol has done. For every dollar we bring in for alcohol revenue, we spend 10 in our emergency rooms, in drunk driving accidents, in domestic violence. Craig, I just don't think this is something that's smart, and I think we ought to reverse course, frankly.
You launched Project SAM in Denver last week. Colorado, of course, one of the places that has chosen to legalize the drug. Why start the fight there?
Well, it was ground zero, because we were all focused after we woke up after Election Day and saw that Colorado had legalized it. Washington State had. Many other states, like I said, 18 had done medical marijuana. But in Oregon, where there's medical marijuana, kids can get a license. In California, of those who are applying for licenses, 90% don't have cancer, don't have MS, don't have any of the things that you and I would associate with needing medical marijuana. And by the way, Craig, when do we have to smoke it in order to get the benefits of the THC? Like, do we call on people to smoke opium in order to get narcotics? That's ridiculous. So what we ought to do is find a really medical option and not go down this road of having a new tobacco industry.
Does your group want to make possession of small amounts of marijuana a civil offense? Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
This is one petition from, this is the Marijuana Policy Project. This is one of the groups that is opposed to your efforts, and they say in part in their petition, quote, marijuana consumers should not be forced into treatment or subjected to mandatory health screenings and marijuana education camps. They also add, and this is a swipe at you, you come from a family that made a fortune selling alcohol, a product that is objectively far more harmful than marijuana. How do you answer accusations like that about forcing intrusive treatments, especially when the attacks are...
Well, two wrongs don't make a right. Listen, I know there's neurotoxicity to alcohol, so we should keep kids from using alcohol too. But the point is, we don't want to be fighting this war on all fronts. And I just think we ought to listen to the public health officials. There are implications.
But what about the public? Because there seems to be a growing number of people in this country who are saying at the ballot box, you know what? We're tired of this. We want our pot, and we want to be able to smoke in the privacy of our own homes. What about those people?
Well, that's why we should have a debate about it. I just don't think that we've either got to lock them up or light it up. There is no kind of middle ground here, and that's what I hope to engender through this campaign. Let's bring the public health officials. Let's understand driving under the influence of marijuana. I mean, the implications of that are enormous. Let's understand smoking while having a baby. I mean, the fact that a parent would be smoking and the implications on child development, and as I said, the accessibility to children. So this is a balance. But I think the pendulum has swung way too far, and everyone thinks, oh, marijuana's not that bad. It's much stronger than the Woodstock marijuana that was 20, 30 years ago, and its impact on brain development has been underestimated.
We're going to have to leave it there. You're clearly quite passionate about it too, former Congressman Patrick Kennedy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Craig.